Alrighty, I've decided to build me a Smith machine. Now, I'm not big on Smith machines or machines of any kind. I prefer free weights as much as possible and cables. But I don't have access to a gym anymore. So I don't have access to all the leverage equipment that I could use for doing certain movements and other things. And my stepfather and my brother both really used the Smith machine at the gym a lot. I only ever really used it for shoulders. So I'm going to build one. All right, so I ended up buying some half-inch hooks, or the eye bolts that had the half-inch 13 threads. And I just rethreaded these with a half-inch 13 tap. I did not drill them out or anything. I just ran a new tap through them. I got enough threads that if I epoxy these in here, they'll be fine. But as you can see, the hooks will work good. And I can actually take more out of that. As you can see, I can probably take quite a bit more out of that to make that easier to get in and out. But that's just a rough of how it's going to go. I'm still waiting on the track here from FedEx. So yeah, here we are. All right, so this is the general layout. This is the rail I'm using. As I said, it's just a piece of C-stock with rolled ends and holes in it. It's used in the construction industry to mount just about anything. Of course, I don't need 10 feet, but that's the length it came in for 60 bucks. All right, you can use either a cutoff wheel on a grinder like that, or you can use a Sawzall to cut these off. I cut mine at about 90 inches or so. It's going to be about 91 inches tall total height. These are going to be full length from the floor all the way to the top for structural support, where the tracks themselves are only going to be about 78 inches tall, so they'll go beside those on the outside edge. It's going to be 5 feet wide, where I was planning on 48 inches. It's just the way it worked out on the bar. I don't feel like cutting the little stops off the bars. I feel like this works out better. It's going to be a little harder to shear and stabilize, but we'll see how this goes. In the end, I might recommend making it 4 feet wide and just grinding off the little stops on the bars to make it narrower. All right, so at this point, I'm pretty much mocked up, just waiting on the FedEx guy to not show up today with the tracks. It was scheduled for delivery yesterday and then out for delivery today, and it's still not here. But here's how I did this. So I decided not to run a bunch of bolts. I might run one bolt, but I cut a piece of this that fit inside. You'll notice the way this is shaped. Those ends are rolled, so I just ran a piece of this through like so, and then screwed down. That way I didn't have to deal with bolting all the way through, and I still have a clean face on the other side. And I ran a bunch of those screws, like a bunch of screws. 6 in the bottom, 6 in the middle, 6 at the top, every other one, and did that on both sides. So it should be fine. We'll see. It'll be fine. So yeah, I'm probably, like I say, I'll probably run a couple of bolts here and there just to keep it, you know what I'm saying, strong. But probably just one at the top, one at the bottom. Well, it's fucking 4:20 and FedEx is tracking just updated. Give you 3 guesses what they're saying. Oh, delivery attempt failed. We're going to do it Monday. I've fucking been up here all day. They never attempted the delivery, and then they gave me some horseshit excuse about, oh, it was a misscan. Didn't go on the truck. Okay, well, maybe you can tell somebody that doesn't do parcel freight for a living that, but I know how your system works, because it's what I do for a fucking living. They're full of shit. The guy just didn't want to do it. It's Saturday. He didn't want to do it. He either didn't put it on the truck, or he just didn't feel like coming down this far today. Fucking FedEx, dude. Well, looky what showed up last night at like 7-something p.m. after I called the Watsonville FedEx dispatch. So, we gonna get this show on the road. Now, what I'm doing here, besides what I need to do to pay attention, is I've drawn up a little sketch pad here, which is just, you just lay you cut a piece of paper to fit the edge. You just lay it over there and poke holes, flip it over, poke holes. But your orientation matters on these, so make sure you got it this marked properly, because it's not square. And then I've done 9 inches because that's about how far these blocks need to be apart realistically give me room to move in here and whatnot. So I'm doing about 9 inches. So essentially I measure out 9 inches and then I lay this on one end or the other and mark it out. I am going to drill these holes slightly bigger so that I do have a little wiggle room, because trying to keep this all perfectly square is difficult without, you know, better equipment. I'm just using a ruler and a tape measure and a marker. So that's, like I say, that's how this is going. And then I'll show you how I lay out the rest of it here with the pillow bearings. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do for these, to get these marks here, this is where the 2 holes are going to go, is I'm just going to measure on these and get a direct center, and it looks like it's about 4 1/8 center to center. So I'm going to come dead center on this. Since that's 9 inches, that's 4 1/2, and that's that mark. Then I'm going to come out 2 1/16 from either side and make a mark. That's going to be the center of the hole. Then I'm going to get the dead center of this here, and I'm going to mark that center, and each plus mark is where a hole is going to go. All right, you can see the slide here, and we're getting there. We're getting there. So, like I say, after that, I have to work on, yeah, the side here. We're going to get the bolts in to fit in there. There's just a lot that's going to be going on here. So little stuff. Now I've got to cut another plate here. You can see where that's going to mount. I haven't actually fully installed this. I'm just checking all my marks. So I've got to drill out another one here. And I just use this with a cut wheel. So far I've cut these to size. They were 2 inches wide. Now they're 1 3/4. They're 9 inches long. I've center punched all my areas here. These cross points are where I think the 1/2-inch bolts carriages are going to go. These are kind of the most important holes, because if these are not about the size of the bolt, you'll get movement between these, and the bar will do this number. So whatever, we'll see. All right, so I've got the track preliminary tacked down on both sides, and this is what it's going to look like from the inside. As you look out, this is what it will look like, and you can see that it does have a little twist to it, but you know what? There you go. Now I just got to set it up. So this is the basic design, and it's going to sit about 2 feet away from the wall, a little further than this, so that you have plenty of room. And there's going to be a top piece that connects it, some side pieces, but I'm trying to make the bottom free standing. But as you can see, it's just like any other Smith machine. You know, locks right in place. Okay, so here's where I'm going to be mounting the Smith machine. It's going to be going up against the wall up top there, and then it's going to be I might mount one side like up against the wall with a bracket, but the other side's going to be freestanding. Like I say, if I had a wall there, I'd mount it against the wall too. I'd mount top and bottom, but I don't. So I'm going to try to do this freestanding, see how it works. But that's the location. This is just right in front of a sliding glass door. So, I mean, what could go wrong? Okay, connecting it to the wall. I went on ahead and made a hood out of plywood. The reason I did this was for shear strength. This prevents it from moving side to side this direction. If I were to pick it up and try to shake it, it won't move that way. So I basically built an entire hood, and the catch was that it had to be installed from the side. So all the screws came from the side. All the screws from the top were already done before I put it in place. So there's nothing fancy to this. There's really nothing to teach or show. I did do a diagonal brace from here up to here to stop this from moving back. For the side-to-side movement, I haven't done anything. It's not an issue. So this is basically as freestanding as I can make it, and it is, you know, I could probably get away with shortening this by as much as 4 inches or more. I could have probably made this front edge only 8 inches like the sides, but I had no idea as to the shear strength, and it's so strong that I could have definitely saved there. This is 2 sheets of plywood. Right here. I used AC just because I didn't want to have to fill or putty or any knots or checks or anything before painting. but you could save a lot of money there. This is 1/2 inch. You could, I mean, 3/4. I wouldn't go any thinner than that. So I'm going to make a few adjustments to this today when I take it out and paint it. The holes I'm going to enlarge to these points here. All of them. I'm going to make them larger for obvious reasons. Make everything easier to rack. Because that's really the only thing. I like the way it works. It's just sometimes it's not as easy to rack as it could be. So I'm going to paint everything, get those cut, and that's going to be the final installation. I'm currently taking it apart. You notice I've got the side braces out, and I've taken out the screws in the front. I have to remove the ones back here now. And then this will come out, and the hood will actually stay in place the way it's been bolted up there. All right, so this is kind of where you can start getting into money. Spent money on this project. The discs and everything that I needed to do this was 50 bucks. So this is what that looks like afterwards and before. So you can see I've got them all marked out here. And this is what they'll look like afterwards. So it'll give you a much larger chance of racking it every time. And again, I'm only building this for around 225 pounds. No more. I'm not building this for like 800 pounds. Now what I'm using for this project here is a cordless Ryobi. I've got one of their large 18-volt batteries and a really old Dremel. I mean, it's so old I had to tape the brushes in. And some of these reinforced cutoff wheels. I got 2 packs. They're really expensive. About 3, maybe 4 of those will get it done. It's 15 bucks. You know, so if you do this from the beginning and you don't just cut out like I did and waste another 2 wheels, it'll be cheaper. But I don't know how this is going to work out in the long run for strength. All right, this is basically the final iteration before paint. I was going to spray paint it, but those 2 little pegs there, those 2 little side braces took a whole can of paint. So that's going to be expensive. I'll just go get a quart of paint, dark gray or something, and just brush it on. But basically this is the final product. And what I ended up doing on this side was enlarging the openings. And again, I want to stress this is not for heavy weight. So a couple 100 pounds is all I ever plan to put on this. You know, so I don't need a whole lot to hang on here. Alrighty, it's done. This is the final iteration. It's got 225 on it right now. The bar with all the hardware actually weighs exactly 45 pounds with the 210s on it. So this is 225, and of course I'm 180 sitting on it, so it is very strong. It's not going anywhere, you know what I'm saying? So the whole point is to be able to work heavier by yourself, and this is right on the limit of what I can actually do. And that's what I built it for, was about 225, 200 pounds. And I think I could probably go heavier with it if I wanted to, but as you can see, I can only get 6 to 7. Like that's heavy enough for me. So it does what I want it to do. I feel that it's safe, and I'll update as I go.
Alrighty, she's done. So, you know, in conclusion, this was a bit of a challenging project. There's a lot of mock-up, a lot of test fitting, a lot of trial and error, and it didn't just fly together. You know, the first part sort of did once I had all the components, and you know, once they were delivered. But you know, there were little things I had to adjust, and I still need to get a couple of more washers to shim out the weights because they'll hit that upper side support. So I still need to shim those out about 1/8 of an inch. So, you know, you've got to make adjustments as you go in a project like this. But, you know, I'll leave a list of the basic parts that I used in the description. You know, it's 2 sheets of plywood, two 2000 millimeter 16 millimeter shaft slide rails, linear slide rails, 2 pillow bearings, 1 bar, and 2 mounting racks, just construction HVAC mounting racks. That's, I mean, just screws. This was very simple stuff, guys. I mean, I used a table saw. You don't need a table saw. You can do it with a circular saw. You don't have to be pretty. I wasn't concerned with pretty, and it turned out pretty nice. So, yeah, fun stuff. Plan on getting a lot of good use out of it. So, may even put a video or two up. You never know.